Okay, so Sweden, the country everyone points to as proof that the world's going cashless. Well, they just did something almost nobody expected. As of July 1st this year, Swedish law now says staffed grocery stores and pharmacies have to accept cash. Have to. Let that sink in for a second. Not because cash is making some huge comeback, it's because the government looked at what happens when an entire population depends on digital payments working all the time with zero exceptions. And honestly, they got nervous. That one decision tells you more about where this is actually headed than almost every cashless society headline you've seen online. So, the real question is, what does all of this actually mean for you? What's really happening with the digital money? What's mostly hype? And most importantly, how are wealthy families quietly preparing for it? Because that's the conversation very few people are having. Quick intro if you're new here. I'm Rakib Rashon. This channel is all about global business, international real estate, golden visas, citizenship by investment, and wealth strategy. Thinking beyond one country, one currency, and one passport. This topic sits right at the center of all of that. Let's get into it. Let's start with what we actually know, because there's a lot of noise around this topic. Cash use is genuinely falling fast, especially in some of the world's wealthiest countries. In Sweden, cash now accounts for roughly 5% of in store payments. About 15 years ago, it was around 40%. Norway is even farther along. Central bank figures put cash use at roughly 3 to 4% of transactions. Globally, around 85% of point of sale purchases are now made without cash. And digital wallets, more than 5 billion people use them worldwide. Now, here's the part everyone talks about, but almost nobody explains properly. CBDCs, Central Bank Digital Currencies. As of this year, 146 countries and currency unions, representing more than 98% of the global economy, are researching, piloting, or developing one. Sounds enormous, right? But here's what almost every clickbait video leaves out. Only three countries have fully launched a retail CBDC. Three, not 146. And here's something else that's interesting. Enthusiasm among central banks is actually cooling. Only around 1 in 10 now say they are actively developing a CBDC, down from roughly 1 in 5 a year earlier. Even South Korea paused its pilot this year. For many countries, upgrading existing instant payment systems simply looks faster, cheaper, and less complicated. So here's the honest version. Cash is declining, that's real. Digital finance is expanding, also real. But a world completely run by government issued digital currency, that's moving much more slowly and with much more uncertainty than the headlines would have you believe. Sweden's new cash requirement is probably the best example of that. Even the world's most cashless country isn't rushing to eliminate its backup option. So, why are governments moving in this direction? Usually, it's not just one reason. Part of it is reducing tax evasion because digital payments are much harder to hide than physical cash. Part of it is fighting money laundering. Part of it is cost as printing, transporting, and securing cash isn't cheap as well. There's also efficiency. Digital payments, especially across borders, can be faster and less expensive. And in many developing countries, this is genuinely about financial inclusion, giving banking access to people who've never had it before. And look, I want to be fair, none of those goals are automatically sinister. Efficiency, security, and inclusion are legitimate objectives. It's easy to tell the scary version of the story. I'd rather tell you the accurate one. That said, there are real risks, especially if you're building wealth over decades. The first is privacy. A fully digital payment system makes transactions far more traceable. If you're running a business, investing internationally, or moving money across borders, that's a very different environment than previous generation experienced. Second, programmability. Some CBDC pilots have tested features like spending restrictions or expiration dates. That's fundamentally different from physical cash. Third, infrastructure dependence. Imagine a major cyber attack or even a nationwide payment outage. If everything depends on digital payments, those systems become critical points of failure. And finally, policy risk. In extraordinary circumstances, access to money can become affected by regulations, sanctions, or emergency measures. Now, none of this means disaster is around the corner. The lesson isn't fear, the lesson is diversification. Just like you wouldn't invest your entire portfolio in one single stock, it's probably worth asking whether your entire financial life should depend on one bank, one currency, or one country. So, what are wealthy families actually doing differently? Not the version you hear on social media, the real world. Five patterns show up again and again. Number one, they diversify where they bank, not keeping all their liquidity in one institution, one country, or one currency. Sometimes simply having a second banking relationship is enough to increase resilience. Number two, international real estate. In many countries, real estate can do two things at once. It helps preserve wealth, and in some cases, it can also create a pathway to residency. At the same time, it's one of the few major asset classes that exists outside digital payment infrastructure. You can't switch it off. Number three, second residency or citizenship. This isn't just about easier travel, it's about optionality. A second passport means you are never completely dependent on one country's monetary policy, banking system, or political direction. That's why many investors pursue residency before they ever need it. Insurance works best before emergency. Number four, diversifying across asset classes, stocks, real estate, businesses, and for some investors, precious metals, which have preserved value across thousands of years and countless monetary systems. Number five, maintaining emergency liquidity. Even highly digital households often keep a reserve for unexpected situations. Interestingly, Sweden's own central bank recommends keeping around 1000 kronor in cash per adult to prepare for temporary disruptions, crises, or even war. And this is exactly why topics like global banking, international real estate, golden visas, and second residency keep appearing on this channel. They're not separate conversation. They're all connected. Resilience isn't built by predicting the future perfectly. It's built by giving yourself options. And that's exactly what global diversification does. One quick reminder before I wrap up. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. It's not financial, legal, tax, or immigration advice. Always consult qualified professionals before making important financial, residency, or citizenship decisions. So here's the real takeaway. It's not that the world is definitely going cashless or that governments are about to control everything. That's the simplistic version of the story. The reality is more nuanced. Cash is declining, digital finance is expanding. Neither trend looks likely to reverse anytime soon. The people who tend to come out ahead aren't the ones who panic. They're the ones who quietly build options, diversifying their banking, their assets, their residency long before they actually need any of it. If you enjoy this kind of balanced breakdown of global business, international real estate, wealth strategy, and second residency, subscribe to this channel. I publish videos like this every week. Until next time, keep building options, not dependencies.